In this video, I'll walk you through the Boolean data type. We'll check out the use of bool in conditions and the bool function. Let's get started. Now, Boolean is basically true or false. You can check if an expression is true or false in Python. Think of it as Python saying yes or no, or on or off. So bool is basically true or false. So let's say we have print 21 greater than 20. We know that 21 is greater than 20, so we get true. Let's say we have 21 less than 20. We know that is false, so we get false. Is 21 equals to 20? Note that you put double equals to. Because if you put 1 equals to is usually used to sign variables. So make sure you use 2 equals to. So is 21 the exact same as 20? Well, that is false. So that's how Boolean works. Now let's talk about true or false in conditions. Now we can also use conditions to check if something is true or false. And this is also a great opportunity to interlace variables in. Now let's say we have a variable called num1 and we put 21 into that. And we have another one called num2 and we put 20 into that. So let's say if num1 is greater than or equals to num2, that is what the greater than equals to sign in the middle means, then print true or print false if not. So else is if it's not, if num1 is not greater than or equals to num2, then print false. But in this case, because num1 is greater than or equals to num2, that means that num1, which is 21, is greater than 20, then it prints true. So the greater than or equals to does the code under it, which is print true, if either two things happen. Either num1 is greater than num2 or num1 is equals to num2. Is the same as num2. Then it prints true. But in this case, 21 is greater than 20, so we get true. Now, we can use other messages to replace the basic true or false, like you win, or you lose, or game started, or game ended. And that is why we use the if conditions to help with this. So we can have the same conditions, but the code under it will be different. So we could have, rather than print true, we could have print the first number is greater than the second. Or you could have the first number is greater than or equals to the second. And then else, if that does not happen, if num1 is not greater than or equals to num2, then it prints the first number is not greater than, or you could add not equals to the second. But in this case, because 21 is greater than 20, then we get the first number is greater than the second. Now let's talk about bool conditions while we're still in conditions. Boolean can be used as the statement in if or while conditions. So if you want to make a condition that does not necessarily need a specific condition or specific statement, like if or while a number is greater than the other, then you can just use simple true or false. So we can have if true, well, that basically just does that, literally. So if true, then print bulb is on. And then else, if not, if false, then print bulb is off. Now note that else is the same thing as elif. So elif, which is else if false, then print bulb is off, but we use elif. But it's just a lot easier to use else here. Now, we get bulb is on. And why do we get that? That's because almost everything in Python is true. Obviously with a few exceptions, but almost everything is true. So because of that, the message under true, which is bulb is on, prints out. So basically, except you do something, Python is always true. A bool is always true, except there's a few exceptions, which we'll talk about in a bit. Now let's talk about the bool function. The bool function is a built-in Python function that basically checks values and gives either true or false in response. And almost any value will give true. So it's basically automatically true. Think of it like that. It's automatically true, except for a few exceptions that when you put them in makes it false. So almost any value will give you true if it contains at least a character. However, there are a few exceptions, like I've said. So one of them is an empty string or list, an empty string or an empty list or empty set or empty tuple or empty dictionary will give you false. Any other string or list or set or tuple that has at least something inside of it will give you true, but empty ones will always give you false. Another exception is all numbers except for 0 will give true. So any number will give you true except for 0. 0 will give you false. Another one is functions, which we haven't talked about. We'll talk about that later in the course. But functions that return 0 will be false as well because it's 0. Now let's look at some code. So let's say we have print bool and then we have hello inside of it, or we have 23, a number, or we have a list with items in it, or we have a set with items in it. Note that the items must not be empty, so it mustn't be like an empty string. Or we have a tuple with items in them, or dictionary with items in there. They will all give us true. Every single one of those I've just listed will give us true. But let's say we have bool that is empty, we put nothing inside of it, or we have an empty string, or 0, or an empty list, or empty dictionary, empty set, empty tuple, or dictionary with empty values, or we have none, or we have false, of course false, will give us false. So all of those will give us false because there's nothing in them. But some obvious keywords like none or false will obviously give us false. So I find the bool function quite a handy tool to use. To get your hands on these resources for less, comment down below and we'll reply in 2 days maximum. Thank you for watching this video. See you with another video in 2 weeks.